You stop laughing right now. We just become best friends.
And we're the three best friends that anybody can have.
Now, funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown. I amuse you.
Tellin You.
You boys like Mexico? Yeah!
So I think revisit number 3. Would this be the return if we go back to the?
Is that what we're doing since we're still running?
I think we should because
We can't say running solo. We're running duo tonight.
Yeah, sans Miss JD again. But hey, family happens. We support our people here no matter what, and you got to do your thing. Got to do your thing.
You got to do it.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah,
Do it. Yeah, you
do
can't
it.
take my line. Yeah, but I mean, she was a part of the first conversation, which honestly is really why we had to go to a second conversation, because it's like we barely even scratched the surface on these things. We got, I wouldn't say tangented on those topics. They really seemed to stay very focused once we were all about that.
You won't get an argument out of me talking more about Terrence Howard, because I've kind of been a fan of his for a while now.
Yeah.
And
you put him on my radar outside of being just an actor.
Completely aside from him being a pretty decent actor, has nothing to do with any of that. It's just like his interest in life and where it's been going since he was born.
Well, he put it as this is his purpose that he has not fulfilled in the past lives. And he's like, this time I have to do it, which is to remember the knowledge and bring the truth.
And in some, I guess, small percentage, it might be due to the fact that it's someone else who believes in Walter Russell's theories, as I do. And I just kind of latched onto that when I found out that, he was like an Uber fan.
Yeah, I remember you being gushy about that.
About him carrying that damn book everywhere, right?
I mean, honestly, I think that's pretty much when you really put him on my radar as other than just an actor.
I'm like, check this show out. Like, he went on set with the book, and they couldn't take it from him. It was like he was forcing it to be on camera. Well, I can't get him to put it down. He just carries it with him everywhere.
And,
I mean, it was official looking. So, like, I guess they just didn't put up a fuss, but
it's solid product placement for good marketing. Because, I mean, honestly, if you think about it in that capacity, it's kind of like where TV shows will put certain books in the background.
Yeah.
So it's almost the same sense of.
But think about you're the director or producer or whatever of the show, and it's like this guy keeps coming on set with, a prop that you had no control over. Like,
I don't know.
What do you do? You just let it play out? Like, okay, well, it seems appropriate to the scene that he might have paperwork of some sort with him, but like, how do you just get away with that? I don't know. I mean,
well, I think Terrence had his hand in on the overall. I believe he was a part of the backside, so he kind of.
Up for Empire?
Yeah, I believe so.
I hadn't actually looked into that. I've only been looking into the stuff involving
JD, get off that shit. We're not going to do that.
No.
No, she deserves the night off. She works for High Fives. You know what I mean?
I mean, I think I told you, like, I knew of him as an actor before then, but and I liked him.
Well, yeah, I mean,
he never stood out to me before until he started talking about. And actually, what really sparked it was the first conversation I heard him talking about, the condition he was born with, and remembering literally a time before he was born. Like, this isn't stuff he just started saying now.
He's been saying this for decades at this point.
And I don't think it's to try and be like, hey, look what I can do. I can remember a time before I was born, like that. He almost talks about it like it's a curse. He's like, I thought everybody had what I had.
No, he thought he thought everyone perceived the way he perceived.
Right.
saw and witnessed and
which
ingested.
everyone knows, like, you don't perceive like anybody else. It's something about you that's very specific to you. But him more so in a many layered way sees reality in ways that we can't say doesn't exist, but a way that we don't see it.
Well, yeah, I mean,
to be able to perceive
Yeah,
forces.
I would use perceive, because see, to me at least, says just so perceive, because it's his perception, it's his construct in his reality, his big screen movie theater in his head.
When I use the term see, like, I kind of mean like,
yeah, I know,
like overall,
we got to come correct. We have to.
No, but that's a good point. It's a good point.
It's for the people. We love you. When you put him on radar for me, it was very much about the Walter Russell book, as well as, hey, didn't you know he also has synesthesia? And it's like, you know what? Just my psychology background, putting that as the construct of this individual. It's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I want to at least give him a listen. Because again, I had only known him as an actor as well. I mean, Hustle and Flow put him on my map.
Right, but what does that tell you, knowing that somebody is, and every time we bring this up, I feel the need to like try to explain what synesthesia is, but I think even its explanation, it loses punch. But to imagine that your experience of reality is in this way, synesthesia, where you don't have 5 distinct senses so much as they kind of all bleed into each other. And what does that mean? That means you have an auditory sensation that's related to a touch.
Or seeing I always keep saying the number 2 on a piece of paper.
Like 2 things that are completely normally unconnected.
Because they're not literally doing it or being a part of that.
Like you don't hear a note and see a color and a shape associated to it, but he does.
Yeah.
And where does he see it? It might as well be there, but it's, if you've ever seen anything in your mind's eye, if you can daydream your perfect car that you've always wanted, like, you have that picture solidified in your head. And to say that, do you see it physically in front of you? Yeah, but no, it's not physically like.
See, and this is where I'm curious.
To mention stuff.
Yeah,
it's like a kind of wishy-washy.
This is where I'm interested in the understanding of it, because with what I have knowledge-wise as to what this is, it sounds as though it's not always, meaning that everything that you perceive is going to have these additional components to it, colors, tones, sensations of feeling any of that. So my belief would be because again, I don't know what you see in your mind's eye when you're looking through your eyes. You know what I mean? I don't know what this looks like to you or you at home. I don't know. But if my view, what I truly see, or I feel I see, I perceive I see, is the same for him, he would have that, but there's going to be certain things, or maybe even most things, that are going to cause him to have these other sensations that come along with that perception.
And apparently this particular condition, I don't think it's all that unusual that you have a photographic memory.
Yeah, eidetic, actually, I believe is the more correct term.
Eidetic memory that.
Well, yeah. Well, because when you have it as, the visual aspect, that's pretty much kind of where I'm at. It's like you can see everything, but to draw further and then pull that additional and really get the true details instead of almost like a watered down version, movie screen style, as I always say. But you can, that's why, commonly when I'm trying to think of something, you always I look up, or because I'm trying to access my brain, and I'm usually going back and forth,
You're looking through folders. Yeah.
But that's how I describe it.
Yeah.
But again, because with the synesthesia, it's like,
Doesn't that make the filing process a lot more complicated?
Well, this is what we, at least what we know.
That's what I would assume. Like,
so us as habitual creatures, the more layers that we can add to a memory, the more aspects or avenues that your brain can fire across to like find that path to pull that quicker.
so what do I mean?
And in greater detail.
What do I mean when I say, why is that more complicated? I mean, but you think of it as like something simple. I mean, it's pretty well known that your sense of smell, your olfactory, is linked to the, like, it's the quickest link to past memories, and that a certain smell, like the smell of fresh baked apple pie on a spring day, can remind you of a moment in childhood like that, and that is also part of your experience of that moment that you're living in. So while you're seeing these colors and shapes, it's like, it's not just the smell, but the smell of apple pie is purplish pink, you know? And
Well, see, and this is like, I wonder if in
like,
that,
do you have that full,
yeah, but to me, in that capacity, does that almost seem as though he's having that visual that we're having as I see or perceive mine, but then, you know, almost like rose-colored glasses where you're just putting a tint over it. Does it change the hue of the entire, like, you know, as you're editing photos or whatever, you can have full control over that entire, you know, single shot, but we're doing it continuously. It's like you're just tweaking a filter and it's putting a purplish hue or a goldish hue or some form of a tone.
That's part of your perception.
But that's what but that's why I'm like, that's where I'm kind of interested. Is like, do you see what I see? But then also on certain interactions, do you see this as well? Do you sense this as well? I should say.
Like, supposedly when reaching a certain state of samadhi or whatever, when you have like that in meditative oneness with everything, that the tone of everything will take on a golden hue. Does it physically change the way it's hitting your retina? Like, if you were to film it, does it look any? Probably not, because that's also part of your perception. You know,
Yeah.
But for most people, it's not a golden hue. For most people, you know, whether they like it or not, or whether they try to control it or not, they focus on the negative aspects. They're not looking at the beam of light that's glistening on the bright side of the car that's parked on the side of the street. They're looking at the shadowy side. They're looking at the lines that fall off into obscurity, instead of looking at it. So maybe it's just, that's also part of perspective. Like, if you were to record a moment in someone's life, you know, what they're focused on and how they focus on it could change the entirety of experiencing this room as a whole. And experiencing this moment with me, I'm focused on your face, I'm focused on the curtains, the plants, but beyond that, there's not really much else going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all part of that experience. And, and for most of us, it's easy to pull a file that's connected with one or two simple tabs. But if you think about it, doesn't that change every experience when it's also connected to a color, a taste, a sound?
Well, right, because it's not even just for recalling that knowledge, like you're calling it, the tabs. So it's not just adding those extra little pieces where it makes it quicker to find stuff, but it's also going to give you, this is where I like what he was saying, is he's challenging the idea of linear math with universal math, which is, as you put it, spherical. It's not just round, it's 360 all the way. It's a giant marble that's just, you know, doing its thing. So because you have that perception, that ability to be a part of that thing, it's like, that's where, you know, as you were saying, having those extra components or tabs, it's not just for finding stuff, it gives you a truer knowledge.
And I give anybody credit that somehow discovers a whole new mathematics and makes it work.
I mean, how often does that shit happen?
I mean, why does the focus have to be on the fact that he's been an actor? Like, everybody needs to make money. I mean, we've talked to an actor who was like, this is just a job for me. Like, I don't really.
Yeah, but that goes to the whole Graham Hancock thing where it's just like, oh, he's just this, and it's like,
Why do you have to pigeonhole me?
yeah, why are you going around just saying it's this, that,
I
or
never
the
said
other?
I was a scientist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He thinks this, he doesn't have doctorate, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I'm just collecting the data and showing you what my correlations are with that data.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's a peer-reviewed paper. That is scientific. That's hypothesis.
That's as scientific as I can be without actually being a scientist.
But that's basically what he does.
This is what I observed, and this is what I'm writing about.
So same regard.
Did I make those claims? No.
No, this is what the data tells me. I mean, this is why I love Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson will tell you time and time again, I'm not giving you my opinion. It's not his personal feeling. He's saying, this is what I see from the data.
Right.
He's being scientific. That's it. He's logical. He's like, data supports these models work out. This is the most likely outcome. Like, sorry to tell you, I don't feel this way.
It's not that he never speaks on opinion.
Well, no, but even his opinion is so.
Data is shown. Yeah.
But dude, that's for real though. So it's like, yeah, I get that. So that's why you get these kind of individuals where they are doing it from logic, where they are being scientific. You can't challenge.
Yeah, and
so an alternate is, well, if I can't challenge this, I can challenge this.
I think everybody's tone would change quite a bit when he starts putting these other things that he's created, brought into existence from his mind palace or whatever.
Well, but it's him, and he has somebody else he's working with.
And then we can see that they actually work in a physical sense. Like, if you're telling me just creating a tone, we don't need to do electrolysis anymore. We can literally just
basically
dial into the right frequency.
Yeah, which I said earlier, but I don't know if it's correct, but like baridium or something automatically pulls the oxygen, and so the hydrogen is just released.
So there's a chemical piezoelectric something that goes on.
But it's tonal.
But it's tonal in nature, right?
So, and that's where his math and ideas really work out, is he's talking and thinking like Tesla. Frequency, vibration, energy. When you get the right frequency,
so fascinating to me, because it's not just the Walter Russell. You're right.
What he's basically saying is when you have the right frequency, you get the right vibration, and this generates some form of energy. It's, as he calls it, the pressure differential. So it's like things moving from one side to the other. That's it. But within that, if you can capitalize on that, exact piece, that's where you can, it's like, well, now we can finite or, find a way to pull, because we know exactly what this energy is. We know how to use it. Everything is just energy. We're all vibrating molecules that make a construct that has perception.
That was the other crazy claim, though, like that basically I could, if I generate a car, here's a car, and I want to find whatever propulsion system I figure out. But like with his math, he's saying that if you could somehow produce the frequency that releases you from the planet's hold, that you could basically fall right into space.
More or less.
like the claim is ridiculous.
But I think that's a great way to put it. That's truly what you're doing. Because he's saying, you're vibrating yourself.
Turning off your gravitational connection to Earth. Whatever you want to call that, because
you're resonating at a different frequency.
Because that was the next crazy thing that he was saying, is that there's no such thing as gravity, or gravity is a side effect of...
No, gravity is a means to describe an action that is basically energy from the pressure differentials as you're dealing with frequency and vibration.
It's the electric universe, that it's the male electric bond that wants to bring everything in towards the center. And the female aspect is the magnetic field that's produced around planetary objects. And basically those two in conjunction is what creates the matter in the shape of a sphere in the first place. Because you have swirling vortices, top and bottom, creating an energy field that's basically like a donut shape. Toroidal. And that's creating a mass of hyper pressurized zone in the center that's creating the mass of everything from a planetary object to an apple. I mean, think about the shape, a cherry. Think about the shape of it, and it even dips down in the top and bottom. Almost all fruit that you look at that grows like that in a sphere will have that indentation at the top and bottom.
But you can take that even further, because if you look at a tree from the ground up and then the roots down, you know, the ground
you
down,
get that same shape.
You basically still get a spherical
that's the tree of
representation.
Life. There's a reason why that's the tree of life.
But that comes with everything. Because going to what Terrence Howard said when Joe Rogan was like, oh, we can manufacture a straight line. He's like, no, because if you look at that under an electronic microscope, it's like you'll see a bunch of like squiggles and dots that make this straight line.
Right. So
it's still not a straight line.
You can't in nature create anything that's a straight line. You can create,
it doesn't exist.
The appearance of a straight line. But.
Well, yeah. So I think butterfly bush is the only square stemmed naturally produced plant. Like, we haven't genetically modified or bred for it or anything like that. It's just this naturally occurring stem that's basically square. It's the only plant that does this.
I never heard of this.
But here's the thing is, we see it as the square. However, if you were, it'd be a circle. You're just seeing those edges coming off.
Right.
Which is our perception. So we're like, oh, it's square. No, it's still got a spherical.
Squared off.
But it still has as you said it, and this is why I really enjoyed that, it's spherical. So, you know, the universal math that Terrence talks about is spherical.
Well, the energy flow is spherical.
It's all spherical.
So the energy itself is what's feeding it, what's pushing it into a certain frequency to manifest.
Well, that's
exactly
why,
what it's doing.
Yeah, this is why I love because again, it's not just Terrence. Like, most of this stuff is coming from him, but he does have someone that he works with closely. I think his name was Chris something. Get off the shed! God damn it, JD. I'm pretty sure it was Chris something, but he's working with him to extrapolate the actual knowledge behind what Terrence is thinking, as well as his own interpretations and knowledge as well. Coupled together, they're able to produce these things. And that's why I love the whole Saturn model. I think it was Saturn, right? Or was it Jupiter?
Yeah, no, it's Saturn.
Yeah, it was Saturn. They took, because you were talking about the whole gravity thing being a means to explain an interaction that he calls the pressure differentials.
I think they were dialing in on a specific frequency, like we were talking, the pressure gradient as you're traveling away from the sun.
Well, correct. They predicted what that
pressure is getting lower and lower, and it was something about the release of nitrogen or something else like that.
Well, but as that model was creating itself, utilizing a math algorithm that negated gravity as the piece.
Gravity just wasn't programmed in.
Well, and because more to his point is, when they're using those models, they represent the idea that space is a void, air quotes void. So they're negating, utilizing that information in their mathematics, and they're basing it within a gravity idea. So him being able to say, okay, you're negating this, I'm going to completely negate this and show you something exacting.
Well, but what the math was working out was the struggle, the positive and negative, the male and female aspects of the electric, which is compacted, finding a center. Everything electric goes to find a center.
Yeah, balance.
Whereas everything magnetic tends to create like vortices around and beyond the object of its, attachment, whatever, that it's traveling out, it's pushing out where electricity or gravity is pulling in. So it's just, we found a name for creating a side effect off of something that already was in existence. It's not to say that we've negated gravity, but when we worked into the model that we built, the digital model, we programmed in the electromagnetic field.
Well, you put it
literally created that planet.
You put it different as the pressure differential of all of that, but also with the time as it would have traveled from the sun as some sort of like, solar projection. And it just, like a pearl in a clam, as it drifted further and further for trillions and trillions of years, it just formed into this piece. And so much so, it had the exact shape that NASA had photographed on top, which was the Pentagon.
Right.
It produced the same exact literal model.
That's a natural shape that's produced by a 360 degree.
Well, and I think that was the piece of his statement. I don't know if you want to
360 degree, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to call it an argument, but his statement, his position, if you utilize the representation that was built within gravity, negating space as a void, even though that's what their understanding is, and work with their model. So his was exacting, theirs was pretty close, which I think is what he takes to a further point of saying there's the difference between linear math, which, yes, structurally does work. However, it's not 100% accurate, whereas the universal or spherical math is an exacting. And it's like, here's the proof.
This is the problem.
Linear math gets you close. Literal universal math gets you exact.
I think that's one of these stumbling blocks with science the way it is today. And not to say that we've stagnated, but in certain areas, like, we just can't get any further. And it's not because we can't physically, mentally, whatever. But the stumbling block is there. You don't even realize there's anything beyond it. How would you know to go look beyond that? Right. So if we're not using the right mathematics, maybe that's why we can't figure out how the everything that is and exists is held together by empty space. And we have to create these theories about dark matter and dark energy and all this other stuff, because this is a way of explaining the other side of what holds everything together that we don't understand. Right. And if we understood,
I wouldn't say that we don't understand
degree mathematics that he's talking about, that maybe we wouldn't have to sit here and blindly call it something like dark matter.
Well, because with his universal math, dark matter is a incorrect term because it's
it's what old school scientists used to call the ether.
Well, yeah, it's an ill representation. Yeah, I'll agree with you on that.
But those are just words to try and fill a space for something they don't understand. How does all this stuff hold together?
And so you keep saying that they don't understand, and I really, because again, with the whole synesthesia thing, they can't perceive because they're in a linear mindset. It's very two-dimensional almost. It's a very, I would say, ego-driven, logical-based, as opposed to just feeling it. Perceive it and understand it for what it is. See it for what it is. Don't intend to interpretate it. Just accept it.
That's a stretch. I'm sorry. My mind just went in a whole. Well, no, because
are you talking about what I just said?
I'll go through what was in my mind just then as I kind of paused, because I kind of hit a syntax error.
Is it reboot?
Well, because I'm looking at you while you're talking, and we're talking about 3 dimensions, and it's like, obviously we both experience life in 3 dimensions. 4 dimensions. But as I look at you, I still see a 2-dimensional image. So that's a real quandary there, because my visual aspect, as advanced as it is, can only still see you in 2 dimensions.
But see, no, two dimensions is literally flat. So you're seeing me with depth, I would assume, because I mean, I'm seeing you with depth, which is why I can tell the curtains behind you.
The image that's produced on my retina is still a 2-dimensional image. It may be curved.
But then I think that in and of itself.
Saying, if you think about it, the information that I'm receiving is no different from watching it on a movie screen. It's 2-dimensional.
No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, depth, but it's only because
we're getting lost in the.
Well, and then as I'm thinking about that, I'm thinking about how would I experience this if I didn't have the foreknowledge that when you turn your head, the shape of your head is not changing. You know what I mean? Like, you might experience that completely different.
Right.
That I turn my head and now you're not seeing this part of my face. You're seeing this side, and the shape of my head is now changed. And like all of those things, like if if your brain's not programmed to see that, does stuff look visually different to you? Like almost like some kind of weird twisted Picasso. Like
fucking Dolly or some shit.
right, like it's melting off the edge of the table, or there's angles to it that are just impossibly there. Like, how does that even happen?
Right. Like some Escher shit where the stairs never.
Like, how do you
stairs
take out that pre-programming that makes everything what you think of as reality enough to be able to physically function in it? Like, obviously, seeing a two-dimensional image of you works fine because I've learned through life lessons that when things get past a certain point that they actually start affecting me. So that's a pretty easy way to figure it out. Even though the actual information, and do you see what I'm saying though? Even though the actual information is two-dimensional.
This is where, we're getting caught up
Like,
in the.
how is his hand getting bigger? Things like that, like you don't think of because your mind is programmed to read the information in a certain way.
Yeah, this is where after that explanation of your mental thought,
right?
I understand your representation of stating two-dimensional.
And you see why I was stuck in that syntax error for a minute.
You're like, I cannot compute. Danger, Will Robinson. All that good shit. Yeah. Well, and you know, as you asked the question of, and this is where I say, how do you change that programming? Well, what if because Terrence has synesthesia that it negates the potential to even input that program, and that brings up an
he's got a whole different program.
But that's what? No, it's not. No, because it's not different. And this is the further point was
it's still based in his interaction with people. And
it's so going to what Dispenza said, where we have, you know, this 98% junk DNA. It's like these are alternate things that we could literally turn on and off. What if with Terrence?
That's my theory that nothing's broken. Yeah.
No, it's just whether it's you turn on or off. Yeah,
right.
With Terrence, it's like, what if one of those things is, you know, turned on or turned off? What if the turned off is the RAC, or what if turned on is overload, perception? And, you know, input, you know, feed Johnny Five
it's
shit.
Quite possible. I mean, how many?
Well, but you know, so whether
how many genetic markers we have no idea about. What
that's the thing. So again, whether we want to call it turned on or turned off, literal idea. Because again, how do we change that perception? You know, how do we change that programming? It's like, well, what if it's just the matter of turning something on or off?
Well, and maybe this is that whole claim about manifestation that people just don't quite wrap their heads around, because it requires a full 100% dedication on the person that's performing this act of miracle. But it's not for you to perceive, it's for me to perceive.
Dude, I just had this thought.
So if it makes an effect in my life, what's it matter what you perceive from it? It's not my job to prove it to you.
Well, right. Which is a Matthias DeStefano thing, which I'll touch on that in a second. But dude, the irony of what if being in that 100% perception of reprogramming your RAC is to literally turn its function off. Like you literally program that into yourself so much that you click that DNA switch, and you no longer have to perceive with the idea of resetting your computer, your RAC, and it just is, which is like basically maybe that's what synesthesia is. You know, but going to the Matthias DeStefano thing, I always love this. He tells a story of how his dad wasn't in his life, and then he comes into it later on once he's this enlightened individual. And somebody asked him the question, it's like, in dealing with your dad now, because you're trying to have a relationship, do you ever push your mentality, you know, your perception, your structure on him? And he's like, no, it's not my purpose. He's like, that's for me. If he wants to talk about it, hey, cool, I'll have that conversation.
Right.
But
it's not my job to.
It's not my job. It's literally not my karma. It's not my purpose. Well, that's why, you know, again.
Well, and it's good that you follow that up with, you know, obviously if he asked me about it.
Well, of course.
You know, if you're showing an interest, I'm not going to just, no, fuck you. I'm not going to tell you you're my dad.
Yeah, and that's, like, to me, that really, you know, as I put it with psychology, is he doesn't, you know, Matthias does not project. And, you know, Terrence very much with his ideas, he's like, I'm not here to say this is right and put it on you. You know, it's not me being religious about it and saying this is a belief system and you have to believe it. He's like, believe in it or not, this is how it works. Sorry to tell you. You know, that's really his mentality.
Well, and is that what was really going on? That, hey, I'm trying to figure it out on the side here, but I can't tell you about all the details yet.
Well, no. Well, I mean,
there's, I think that's part of the problem with trying to be a fan of his right now. It's like, you know, it's not like I'm personally being attacked for being a fan of his. Please don't put it that way. But
dude, I did not have. Why did you go there?
It's just well, because I had mentioned to you, it was interesting. Like the first week or so, it was all about just kind of everybody was reposting
his recent interview with Joe Rogan. Right.
That everybody was reposting because I've been following many interviews, but it was the Joe Rogan interview that I thought really kind of skyrocketed him back into the spotlight, especially with this particular avenue.
Well, he does. Yeah, he's got a larger audience.
I've been aware of for a while now that he's been into this, you know, fringe science or alternate viewpoints on. Yeah,
I like the idea alternate viewpoints. I think that's a very impeccable statement.
I feel like fringe science is a little bit degrading.
Well, but that's what it's. But that goes to the Graham Hancock thing. Is he's, you know, they're like they're not even attacking my science. They're calling me this, that, and the other, and, you know, disregarding my criteria or my accolades to provide for
something that I never claimed I was. Yeah.
But, you know, on top of it, so it's, you know, giving that perception or pointing it and then like labeling it. But, you know, yeah, that's but that's what they have to do, though.
I mean,
it's unfortunate, but that's their viewpoint. I mean, that's why I loved when you said viewpoint.
I hope he figures some shit out, because if he's right about half the stuff he's talking about, he's going to really have to watch his back.
What, Graham Hancock?
Well, no, specifically Terrence Howard.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, just making sure.
Sorry to bounce back, but like.
Oh no, how to not on tangent, dear Lord.
Never ever apologize.
You're a prissy cop. But yeah, dude, you were saying, so if what he's saying is found to be provable,
if he starts coming out with all, I mean, obviously he's already made inventions, or
he has patents.
Which is a little different than, yeah.
Well, it's a different way of
if he starts coming
expressing things and what their validity is, I would say.
Well, I mean, it was like, what, 17 different patents that made Marconi's radio actually work.
Yeah,
something
maybe
like that. But
yeah, get off the shit! God damn it!
Just because you have the patents, 17 patents, doesn't mean you have 17 inventions.
No. Well, I mean,
it could make 100 inventions. It could make one.
Okay. Yeah. No, I could. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Well, I mean, but I always say that about
when it starts coming out. That I think you're going to see a lot bigger following, and like, wow, who's this Terrence Howard guy? He seems to be, or is it going to go the other way because everybody who invents a car that runs successfully on water or hydrogen, whatever you want to say, disappears, dies at a young age through some strange occurrence? All files and everything that they've created.
Not Bob Lazar.
All that stuff just disappears. Well, and maybe that's more like your claim you were making earlier before we
we were off camera when we had this conversation, but yeah,
is that maybe Bob Lazar was a plant.
Well, yeah, you brought up Snowden, and I was just like, hey, he could be just like Richard Doherty, where it's like he's here to produce misinformation. And yeah, they might give you 90% accurate information, but they give you 10% knowledge.
But I still have that part of me that says, well, yeah, but if he's the real deal, wouldn't that be exactly what they would want you to think? Because that's the whole reason why you put out a whole bunch of false information.
Yeah, propaganda.
Like there's a section of the government rhetoric that gets paid just to release false information.
Well, no, there's
like crazy.
I would say there's a dark agency that comes from the black budget that is coming from our tax money that redacted.
As our show gets pulled, sorry.
Oh, well, we're not monetized at this point, so we don't really give a shit. Well, I mean, maybe now we are, and maybe this episode just now was demonetized. I don't know.
Really not on anyone's radar yet.
I see a wink, nudge, nudge.
Some stuff, hey. Know what I'm saying? No, man. Nudge.
Right. But yeah, man, that's
But I hope he does start coming out with stuff.
Going
proving these theories to the point where scientists have to scratch their head and go, maybe we're thinking about this all wrong. Maybe we need to start thinking about this three-dimensional math.
Well, and you were talking about having the multiple patents, and it's like you can now have multiple inventions that come from those patents, which are technically inventions in themselves, but they're singular components more or less. it's very much the same to me as when you have an appropriate menu.
Like the wheel didn't create just one invention.
Right. But yeah, so it reminds me of how I would run my restaurants was you look at it as I have to have this percentage of, actual expenses goes towards food. And typically most restaurants have a multitude of ingredients, but only a few plates. I always ran mine in the opposite, where I had a minimum amount of ingredients and I made a multitude of plates. So to me, that goes to the whole Terrence Howard thing, where it's like with these patents, these few ideas, we have endless technology.
Possibilities are endless.
They are.
Nearly, yeah.
No, they are.
Well, it's geometric growth, But
it continues while it's capped, because he even said himself that there has to be an edge for, things to actually reverberate out frequency wise and then come back in so that you can solidify or get this overlap of the sine wave going one way and then they coming back. And then all of a sudden it's like, here you build that mass, as we were talking about earlier. So you have to have a small or finite amount of ingredients, but from that comes literal endless possibilities.
I hope so.
No, I do. It's not. Again, but he goes to his where he's like, I don't care if you believe this or not. This is how it works.
Like, I didn't fully understand the possibility, the endless possibilities of the linchpin idea that he was talking about. But
he did. He said it was endless and exponential, which is as you grow out spherically, the continuous ratio of growth. But this continues to increase.
This is all based on that working model that he has of a propeller flight, like I don't even know what you could like.
It's a modified drone.
It's a modified drone, but it's like perfectly three-dimensional and can connect with endless amounts of its own shape and type. I guess through some kind of a magnetic force that they can actually click together and all function as one unit.
It's almost like bees gathering themselves or ants gathering themselves, and now they can make a larger workload effort.
It seemed like what he was showing was a digital recreation of what is possible.
Well, yeah, on the Joe Rogan, yeah, it was a model. No, it wasn't literal. It wasn't a video. It was a CGI'd.
If that starts working, I mean, the fact
it's not that. Dude, he said those they're even submersible.
Well, that was the big claim, is that, you can get these things to form like Voltron and do whatever you want.
Dude, nice. That was a nice Wu-Tang.
And send into space, send into the deep sea, send into, shrink down and send into the human body. I mean, and that's where he was going, is that the possibilities with this are numerous and it maybe endless. Who knows?
Yeah.
That was so. I mean, then the only thing that's really restricting you is materials, price, weight.
Well, no, because he even said with his models, you can make these other pieces because we have the understanding of how to construct it so that it's literally a universal math organic creation. We're not creating it. We're just getting the frequency and vibration right that this solidifies. It becomes a part of our perception. It works in our construct.
I have to see that one to believe it.
But dude, did you think that's some Neo shit?
I think that's what stops a lot of people, is to that point where it's like, it sounds like something I've seen on Star Trek.
Well, yeah, but how many things have we seen in like the Jetsons or Star Trek or any of that?
Dirty Martini, it just materializes with the glass and everything.
But again, how many things have we been shown? The Jetsons, Star Trek, Lost in Space, any of that stuff, and we're like, oh, that's never going to exist. I mean, shit, the hoverboard.
Well, and think about
Back to the Future
that all these Black Ops programs have been setting up. Lord knows this stuff doesn't already exist and has existed for like 10 years.
Redacted.
That maybe there is, what was it called on the show? But where you could produce any type of food or beverage that you could possibly imagine, as long as it was in their directory.
That's incredible. I don't know.
It would just,
that's incredible.
It would just literally produce it from carbon atoms. you know?
Well, and that again, that goes to the whole Terrence. That goes back to the whole Terrence Howard thing, where it's
We just found the frequency for, you know, the perfect
but
margarita.
he was saying, because going with the Walter Russell, the Walter Russell model of everything being, you know, this DNA structure in a sense, where the periodic table goes back and forth. He says, as you go from spot to spot to spot, these are all their separate tones. This atom is with this atom. It's vibrating at a different frequency. And this atom is this atom, so it's still the same tone. It's still the same color.
You could produce a set of frequencies that would create a dirty martini in a martini glass, perfectly shaken, not stirred.
But see, but here's the thing: is with that technology, it happens. Our perception is the glass is already by itself. The vermouth or the vodka or the olives or the toothpick or
Thanks
all
for
of
saying vodka, because I don't like gin martinis.
well, I mean, it depends on what you're into. You know what I mean? I was a vodka martini guy, but going to your point, where it's like, oh, we're just like, well, yeah, we are, but we're seeing it as individual structures as opposed to all things solidifying just as this.
But and for the purpose of the show, you could even be like, I want it made with Tanqueray. And it would taste just like. Like, you tell me you could do that with frequencies.
But that's what I'm saying. With our understanding, air quotes understanding, with our understanding that all things are molecules vibrating at a specific frequency so that we solidify into this structure. You are correct.
So you could just literally take a picture of any structure and be able to recreate it by this certain tonal octaves and.
But isn't that what we already do?
Is it?
Isn't it?
Is it?
Isn't it?
Isn't it?
Is it not it? Was not was? Open the
doors. Bro, somebody will get that.
I mean, you know, if we put some visual cues with it. Doing a little dinosaur. As I open the door. Got on the floor.
This is what happens.
This is
so a tangent's like this.
Well, but Hannah, do you think about this?
Baseline, here's the tangent.
Dude, you know what's funny?
What?
This is our third conversation on Terrence Howard, specifically after the Joe Rogan. We have been on target, sans tangent, and JD. Maybe JD's the reason why we tangent.
No.
I mean, she is a catalyst. Let's be honest. She's one of us. So it doesn't hurt us, but it's not helping us either.
Never, ever apologize. I know. You think of that quote every time I say that.
Did you? Well, you do. I mean, yeah. Wait, I hate the tangent
You're a dirty cop. Yeah.
Oh, well, no. I get the literal Zach episode where he says that. Wait, I hate the tangent here, but and it's like, whoa.
First off,
don't ever apologize for tangenting.
Number one, and B.
pretty much. Oh, that's a nice Home Alone reference. That was good. But yeah, I mean, that's I think that's where we're at this point. It is time to go now, Mac.
Was it time to go?
Well, and because, you know, especially with how well we have not tangented and we are now tangenting, it's
get up now. Like,
I mean, I want to get down on it, but that's how I roll. Yeah, it is wrap it.
But
wrap it up.
It never got a complaint from me about doing another Terrence Howard because like you said, I think it's not so much Terrence Howard. It's the fact it's like all the, I say emotional, but like for me, it's all the emotional baggage that goes with his love of this alternate view on science, which is very much aligned with Walter Russell, with Nikola Tesla, with a number of other scientists that have for eternity been considered fringe science.
But like you said, that's just a negative term.
But then you're also talking about probably one of the most prolific scientists. I mean, Nikola Tesla has
endless patents, hundreds, probably thousands.
Radio wouldn't be possible wireless internet would not be possible.
I mean, you're not wrong.
He was talking about wireless electricity. Now, whether or not that's actually possible or safe and possible is a whole nother issue. But, you know, to say that he was just out of his mind loco, I don't buy it. I think he pissed somebody off. Somebody realized he found, and I truly believe this, he found an endless source of energy, and he made somebody very, very jealous. Because if I can't find a way to tax that, how do I sell that to people to make money?
But see, this is why I think...
And that's where it fell apart.
This is why I agree with where the Tesla interviews, or I forget what it was called on the History Channel, where they were really doing a deep dive on him, where Travis Taylor, the Skinwalker Ranch guy, him and a few other people really went after it, and they looked at the tower in New York, and they're just like, yeah, no, this is one of the towers, which is why I agree with the idea that down in the Arctic Circle, the South Pole, where we're not allowed to go, they have a very large power plant. And it may have been one that was already there, and we just figured out how to make it work again. Or...
But is there a tower there?
Well, it doesn't have to be a tower. It has to be a projected unit of whatever mathematical representation working with the math.
It has to go into the ground and above the ground.
Of above, so below.
Pretty substantially.
But it doesn't mean that it actually has to be above ground where we can see it. It just has to be above its ground. Just hold it. If it's ice capped.
Yeah.
It's above ground.
I mean, well,
but it's below ice, and it could still work.
They have something in effect out there that's...
We believe. That's our perception.
This is what I've been hearing. I don't know.
Yeah, I won't. But again, yeah, no, we need to...
Wrap it up, big.
Yeah, because we're now going on conspiracy theories with Tesla's ideas and redacted. Damn it.
It's not like you have to say redacted every time you say Nikola Tesla.
Redacted.
You don't have to do that. It's just
Redacted.
a name. It's just a person. You know?
Redacted.
All right. Well, it's been fun.
Sorry, yeah. Yeah, no.
Not as much fun as it could have been because we were...
What? I'm pretty sure we were both laughing pretty well
because
while being serious and logical. We were being sincerious.
Because we're running duo tonight.
Yeah.
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 I don't like your intonation on that.
Well, it's French Canadian, probably. Sorry, Canada. Anywho, yeah, no, this is Canadian. Yeah, dude, that's how you pronounce it, eh? I'm sorry that you. See, this is why we have to go now.
Hate mail now.
I hope we do.
From
Hate
Canada.
mail us.
Hate mail.
Throw it in the description, or not the. Throw it in the comments. We'll throw in the description. You throw in the comments. This is what you fucking. We had a sword fight. I think the swords won, honestly, but it's not. You can't. It's not how that works.
Did they win? Which sword won?
I mean, right now mine because I finished first, but I heard that about me. Sad.
We can edit all that out.
We can, or we can leave it in. Either way, we still have to go now. Wrap it up, B.
So, as always,
be good to yourself. Good to everything else.
Much love.
Peace. 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 I don't think it's.
No.
Sorry about that.
Sorry.
You're gonna push your button.
Just
Push your button.
to do it. No, you push the. Too late now.
Push your button.